Hey, party people. In this video, I'm going to address another frequently asked question, which is, hey Zoe, I want to be a fashion designer. What are the tools I need to get started? Okay. Before I give you my list, number one, if you are in any kind of school program, any class that you're taking, of course, what your teacher says that you need for their class is what goes for you. If you are not in any kind of school program, then I'm your person. All right. I do all of my illustration work with either marker or some combination of watercolor and gouache. And every once in a blue moon, I do color pencil work. When I'm designing, when I'm doing quick sketches, I use marker 100% of the time. When I start a design project and once I finalize my color story and my fabrics, I go and buy markers that match up to my fabric colors. And then, of course, I have markers for skin tones and hair colors. And I use that and do all of my design sketches in marker because you can work really fast and everything dries really fast. Everything is about speed. You're laying down ideas, boom, 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 boom. It's all about speed. When I'm doing final sketches for presentation, for my portfolio, for a client, I will most of the time, not always, but most of the time use gouache, watercolor, that sort of thing. Do you need to know how to paint in order to be a designer? No. Painting watercolor is one of those things where learning how to paint and all those skills, they can help you. Any kind of skill set you can add to your resume, to your portfolio, to increase the beautifulness. That's a weird phrase, increase the beautifulness. Look, I went to school for fashion, not talking. Okay, anything you can do to broaden your skill set to make you more desirable, higher. I've made a lot of money over the years with my watercolor skills and my gouache skills, freelancing on the side and, taking on projects in between jobs, like all kinds of stuff. And it has made my portfolio look beautiful. And I know that has helped me get jobs. So yeah, learning how to paint is great, but it's not necessary, when you're trying to be a designer, especially if you are launching more into the designer entrepreneur route. If you are on the entrepreneur track, I would focus on learning how to design and learning business stuff, learning tax codes for where you live in the world and things like that, and instead of learning how to paint. So this video is not going to go over tools you need for painting. I will do that in another video if you are interested. But for designing, laying down quick ideas, marker all the way. If you are interested in more information about markers and how I shop for markers, I have a marker intro to markers video in my different mediums playlist. And then I shot a video all about my marker collection a few weeks ago called My Marker Collection. I know, my titles are so clever. It is really not necessary to have top-of-the-line markers for quick sketch work. If you are interested in having beautiful sketches for portfolio, for class, for freelance work, yeah, you should get nice markers. But if you're just slapdashing quick sketches for yourself, there's not a big need for you to spend a ton of money. So I started selling coloring pages at my Etsy store. And so I did this little thing for y'all. And this figure was done using these Crayola markers, and this pink dress was done using Copics, and this blue is a chart pack. So you can see that the Crayola is streaky. It ripples the paper a lot more. It has this kind of shiny surface texture. So there are a lot of advantages to using professional quality markers when you're really concentrating on getting the rendering right. But if you're just, quick sketches, you can do with Crayolas. The only thing is, the best thing about well, not the best thing, but one of the good things about professional grade markers is you can buy them one at a time. And so you can just get the colors that you need specifically to match your fabric. Whereas Crayolas, they come in sets. You can't really test the colors one by one, that kind of thing. I use color pencils, and I'm not someone who does a lot of color pencil work where a color pencil is the main medium, where I do all the base coloring with color pencil. 99% of the time, I only use color pencil for detail work on top of marker. Right? So if I'm doing like a fuzzy texture, I'll lay down the marker and then I'll put some of the fuzziness with the color pencil. And if you watch any of my rendering specific fabrics videos, they're in its own playlist, then you see me do that with marker renderings and with watercolor renderings. I have included, full color pencil renderings in with those illustration videos because I know I have a big group of you watching my channel strictly as an illustrator. But color pencil, while it can look beautiful, is too slow of a medium for me when I'm in design mode. The number one reason why I've never tried to explore photorealistic art is it's too slow for me. And first and foremost, I am a designer and I like things done fast. My sketches should look like the design I want to express, and it should be done quickly. That's kind of always been my thing when it comes to design, communication, and illustration. And so sitting there laboring and coloring the whole thing with color pencil and layering more color pencil to get it smooth and not great, like that's not something I enjoy. I enjoy the results of it, and I enjoy it when other people do it. That's not my jam. And you don't need that as a designer. But I do have color pencils to add textures to my renderings to show fuzzy, furry, textured fabrics. I have a lot of brands that I like, and I keep them separated again by color because that's how I look for them. If I want to put red details on something, it's going to be in this jar of warm colors. And then I have a jar of cool colors. I have another jar for all my grays, and then I have another jar for white because I'm always on the hunt for the perfect white color pencil. It's just my weird thing. Call me Ishmael, whatever. If you get regular drawing pencils like this, I recommend that you get a set of the same brand and that you get every other soft lead level. So this is a 5B. I would have 5B, 3B, B, H. That's the only things that you would need. Like, I don't even know if I would ever use a 5. Well, sometimes. Yeah. You don't want to get much harder than an H or a 2H. You don't really need it. I mean, there's not a big difference between B and 2B. I mean, for designers, like I know like people get really intricate with their pencil, like photorealistic drawings. But for us, like there's not a huge difference between B and 2B, so you don't need to get all those. And the only reason why I recommend that you get all your pencils from one brand is one brand's 2B could be like a different brand's B. And so then you would just have an overlap. I prefer mechanical pencils, and I use them for 99% of my pencil work. The basics that I would get would be 1.3 size with H or HB lead for underdrawings. Okay, really light, super thin, fine underdrawings. And then when I do flats, like skinny little details, top stitching details, all those things. 0.5 with like a B lead is like my everyday most versatile drawing pencil. This is the one I carry around with me everywhere to do most of the things. 0.7, I usually carry a 0.7 around with like a 2B, 3B. Do I have a 4B? Yeah, I have a 4B. One of the softer leads to do finishing work with. Again, if you're not interested in doing really nice design renderings, this one is not even that necessary. Okay, but if you're doing quick design sketches, I would do the underdrawing with a 0.3 and then basic drawing with a 0.5. And honestly, The brands of the mechanical pencils don't matter that much. What matters is what feels good in your hand. Pentel and Pilot, they are both very common brands. You see them in office supply stores all over the US. I can't speak for the world, but I've seen them a lot of places. They're on the less expensive side. But for me, the biggest difference is the grip. This one is light. It weighs nothing. Okay, it has a nice rubber grip and it weighs nothing, and I like that sometimes. This one, it has rubber rings, and this is very heavy, and some people really like that weight in their hand, and then this part is super light. Okay, so depending on what kind of pencil you like, get that one. All right, the super light ones or the more weighted ones, up to you. Erasers. This is a Pentel click eraser, and you can get refills. And then this one is for more detail work. This is a Papermate Tough Stuff eraser stick. Okay, you can see the size difference. This one is soft and squishy and good for large areas. This one is very narrow and really stiff and good for detail work. I also keep a roll of artist tape on hand. It doesn't have to be artist tape. It can be drafting tape. It can be that blue painter's tape. And I use this all the time for when I'm developing croquis, when I'm drawing flats, when I am putting my croquis to the back of paper to use it as a template and then peel back up. I use this constantly. A roll will last you for years and years. For designing, I use templates. I use figure templates like this, front, back, and side, and I use flats templates. You can watch my croquis building series, the 4-step series. I have one for men. I have one for female. Or you can just buy my templates at my Etsy store. So what I do is I'll take my template and I'll take a sheet of paper and I'll put it right on top. I don't know if the camera will pick up, but you can definitely see the template under this paper. Okay. So for designing, I only use this kind of thin paper. I'll talk more about paper in a second, but I use this kind of thin paper and then I just use it as a template to draw my designs, right on top. I mean, here's my face, or here's my head. And, I don't really get into faces when I'm doing quick design stuff. Let's say I'm just drawing a sweater, etc., etc. And I use that template, and then I go in with marker, etc., etc. Another thing that I like to do, and this is a trick that I learned in college, what we did was we would print out our croquis very lightly on photocopy paper. This is regular recycle letter 20-pound paper, and I got this for a few bucks at Target for 500 sheets. This is just the regular printer paper that you use in a photocopier. And so in Photoshop, I took my croquis and I lightened it up a lot. So I printed this super light. In school, we would print out like 100 of these because we had to do minimum 20, 25 design croquis a week for homework. So we would print out a bunch of these and we would just draw. We didn't use the template underneath because even that is a little bit too slow. And so we would sit there and we would just, draw right on top of it. Whatever. And then we would marker, and that would save us a lot of time. So this is my favorite little design trick to save time. And yeah, we used to marker on this kind of paper all the time. For quick design sketches, the quality of using professional grade markers on this printer paper is good enough. Does it make for beautiful renderings? I mean, you'd have to really put in the effort, and we never did. It was all about just slamming down the design, markering it, making sure the markers match up the fabric color, boom, done, right? And then in this space, we could add some back details, add some notes on the design. We would do flats on tracing paper and stick them on here. This is color copy paper, and this is 28-pound paper. It's a little bit thicker. See, this is the 20-pound paper. It's really flimsy. You can see the shadow of my hand underneath. This is the 28-pound paper, and you can't really see what my hand is doing underneath, right? It's far more opaque. And so in my office, if I need a copy to be better color quality or something that'll last more manhandling, like a template like this that I'll use a lot, then I print it on this slightly sturdier paper. Okay, but you can't see croquis through it. I mean, you can, but it's a little bit harder than, I mean, you can really see that. This is $18 for 500 sheets, which at the end of the day is way cheaper than a lot of these kind of professional grade art supply papers. Obviously way more expensive than just the regular printer paper, but this one too I got at this is Hammermill. This is a very common brand that you'll find at, you know, Staples, Office Max, Office Depot, office supply stores. I printed out my coloring page on this paper and I demoed both the Crayolas and the professional grade markers on this paper and see how well that works. That chart pack on this paper looks amazing. Chart pack is so underrated. People don't talk about them enough, but they're cheaper than Copics and the ink is so good and ugh, I love them. That's that paper, and that works great for design work as well. Okay. Now, if you want to do more like present your design sketches, then I recommend using marker paper. Bienfang brand is a great brand of marker paper. I've used it for years and years and years. I like it. Just keep in mind that whenever you get a kind of marker paper, test for the wrong and right side of the paper. So this is a good paper. And then, you know, marker paper is flimsy. You can see right through it, so you can use your croquis templates, but it's flimsy. So all I do if I'm doing a presentation with them, whether in a book or on a board, I just get a sheet of like cheap Bristol, the same size, and I just spray mount or glue or tack or something together. Here's one I'm testing. This is the Copic brand marker paper, and when they say bleed proof, they are not messing around. Like, it's more bleed proof than the Bienfang. It's still see-through. You can still see croquis through it. It's a little bit more matte, tiny bit more thick than the Bienfang, but I haven't played with it a whole lot, so this is not an official product review. This is marker paper, rendering paper that I got as a gift from a fellow illustrator, and this is not see-through at all. Like, you cannot see anything, okay? And it's much thicker. It's than marker paper, but apparently it's good for markers. So I'll be testing this and reviewing this in the future as well. But yeah, for presentation, I recommend some kind of marker paper. Like, I've never come across a brand of tracing paper and thought, oh man, this is the worst. I hope no one ever uses this. Like, it's tracing paper, right? As long as you get tracing paper and not vellum, because vellum is also see-through, but it's very plasticky and stiff, and that doesn't really help you. You can get tracing paper on the roll like this too. They also come in like really small 12-inch rolls. This is an 18-inch roll. I'm actually thinking about finessing and perfecting this and selling my flats templates on Etsy. Let me know if that's something you're into. My favorite sketchbooks are spiral bound. I do not like sketchbooks where I cannot open the book all the way. This one I keep for design work. It is spiral bound. It is a hardcover because I carry it around everywhere, and so I just want to be able to draw without needing a table. It's a 60 or 50 pound paper. It's cheap. It's not for beautiful renderings. It's to scribble on the go, put down ideas. That's it. The only thing this is I photocopy some of the flats I did in other pages, and I would re-merchandise them to make different outfits. I draw the flats, and then later on, I'll regroup them to put together different outfits. Sometimes I will carry around a template, whether it's a flat template or a figure template, and use them because it is much faster to use the templates. This book is a combination of freehanding and the templates, and I will print out a template small like this, and I'll try to print it as dark as possible. Do I have any empty pages in here? Oh my. Okay, I don't. You know, print it out really dark so you can see through it, and then keep it paper clipped in here and just design while you're running around. This is a Canson mixed media paper sketchbook. I just covered the cover with gray paper because I hate this bright blue. This is the book I've been using in the current Watch Me Design a Fashion Collection series, and this is what I've been using to create collages and figure out my color story and things like that, because it's mixed media paper. So I can paint on it, I can marker on it, I can fine liner on it, and it accepts all, well, it's supposed to. It accepts all this media far better than the cheap little scratching paper. So if you are in that phase and you're doing all this work, I recommend you do it in a sketchbook so that it's kept all in one place. You know, you can glue and clip and everything into one book. And then the mixed media paper is really nice so that you can choose mixed media on it. I'm the type to carry around big tote bags. I generally get bags from military surplus stores and throw in all the things. But this is another one of the, that blue cover, the Canson mixed media, but it's really small. So if you're more that kind of person where you carry smaller bags, this one is a good one. They come in all different sizes. Or you can get something really small. You know, buy the thing that you're actually gonna use. I'm showing you all these options because you have options. Carry the thing that you're actually gonna use. Like, I like this size because I can draw a small figure in this length. And I like this size for doing collaging and stuff because I have enough space to move around. Some people are just hate carrying that much weight and that size notebook, so they want a skinny, small, flat. Well, Zoe likes the big sketchbooks with the board. Well, look, if you're not going to carry it around, you're never going to use it, and that gets you nowhere. So get the thing that you know you're going to carry around. A lot of people, they'll argue you don't even need the figures. You don't need to put designs on figures and stuff. But I like designing on both. I like looking at it on both. Like, if you look at this one, you'll see how I design. I design both. I'll design things on the figure and I'll put outfits together and I'll see how the proportions work together. And then I'll draw flats, because then I'm kind of figuring out how it looks all by itself and the design details something needs and stuff like that. I design both. I think it helps me be a better designer to design on both, because sometimes when people draw flat after flat, they forget the body. I will say that if you want to focus on one, focus on flats, because getting good at flats and then transferring them to Illustrator and having beautiful flats on your tech packs are really what's going to help you in the product development process, help you coordinate with your pattern maker and your sample sewers, you know, all that good stuff. That's it. I've talked enough for one day. As usual, drop me all your questions below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you found it helpful or entertaining or what have you. Subscribe if you haven't already. Go check out my different media and materials playlist, where I go over markers in more detail. I go over paints in more detail. I go over papers in more detail, that sort of thing. All right. And you know the drill. The best way to become a fashion designer is practice. All right, so go practice, and I will see you in the next video.